Welcome back to Rebel Reviews, where I, Rebel, will give you my thoughts on a wide range of content from movies to comics and much more. Today's review will be focused on Spider-Man Across the Spiderverse, the sequel to Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. But before we get started, press that like button, hit subscribe, and turn your notifications on so you don't miss any and all new content. Also, spoiler warning! I will be talking about main parts of the movie, so if you have not seen it, go check it out at your local theater and come back. Or you may stay, but I will not be held responsible for spoiling any part of the movie. So let's get started with my general reaction. I have now seen the movie twice, and my reaction has not changed. As of now, at this point of the year, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse is my movie of the year. I have nothing but all-out love for this film, so let's talk about why with the 5 and why I feel that way. Number 1, the animation goes up another level from its predecessor and is even more unique this time around. Specifically in the opening, the movie starts off with Gwen Stacy, aka Spider-Gwen, as she battles a Renaissance-style vulture that looks like a cutout from a painting, and it shows beautifully for the character and plays well with the animation in her own world. Along with that, the animation is also used to convey emotion and tone. With Spider-Gwen, it literally paints the emotion with brushstrokes of how she feels after losing her in her world, Peter Parker, who was not just Spider-Man but became the Lizard, and her father, Captain Stacy, believes she is the reason why. They used it very cleverly to not just show the story, but to add to the telling of it. Number 2, and as I mentioned in the opening with Gwen, I really loved how she gets to open the film and be more part of the story herself. We get to see the relationship with her and her father, as he is the person hunting her. She's the one this time around who brings Miles into the story as she visits him while she is supposed to be stopping a villain that we will get to in a moment. They do a really good job of balancing the characters and adding more, especially for her, from what we got in the previous film. Number 3, Spot. Man, did I love Spot. I am also a huge fan of the not-so-common villain, or the ones that are a little gimmicky in the comics when they actually get some shine in a major project. The Spot is brilliantly funny and creatively written into the story. We find out that he was a part of the Into the Spider-Verse as someone who worked on the Collider and responsible for the spider that bit Miles, which essentially leads to him also being created by Miles through his actions to stop Kingpin. When Miles arrives after the Gwen opening, he's tasked with stopping him as he's supposed to be meeting with his parents for a school interview, which plays great as Miles is trying to just push him to the side while Spot wants to be taken more seriously through a pretty cool fight sequence where Miles clearly isn't going to take him serious. Spot, of course, uses his spots that eventually leads to what can be his true power that will affect the story later on, but it's a great way to introduce him into this universe. Number 4, the overall story is fantastic. The first film was more about anyone can be the hero if they take that leap, and this one is more about what does it cost to be the hero. We find out that Miguel O'Hara, aka Spider-Man 2099, leads a group of Spideys across the universe to prevent canon events from being disturbed. There is even a joke at Doctor Strange for the mess that they created in No Way Home. But with that, as any Spidey fan would know, the canon events that he is essentially trying to keep a go are all the kickoff points for the Spideys. The famous Uncle Ben death scene. Upon finding out that his own father will die, Miles refuses to let that happen. He believes just knowing is going to be enough for him to have a chance to stop it. But Miguel won't have it, so it is up to Miles to escape from the Spideys, and we'll talk more about them in a moment at number 5, and to save his father. He does succeed in escaping, but he ends up in the wrong universe. The one where the original Spider from Earth 42 bit him and changed his DNA, but also the Earth where his father has also died. And there is no Spider-Man since the spider that was supposed to bite that Spider-Man in that Earth doesn't exist since the spider got through the Collider in the previous film. Which leads to the big twist at the very end, if you would like to call it that. There is another Miles still alive on this Earth, the one that is revealed to be the Prowler, and not his uncle this time around. Setting up more for the next installment, the film does end with the original Spider-Verse crew back together again, with a few more added as Gwen tries to get them together to help save Miles and his father. And number 5, all the Spotties. Are you kidding me? There are so many different Spotties in this film. It is truly amazing. It first starts off when Miles follows Gwen into a situation in another universe where the Spot is wreaking havoc. We first meet Paviter, and I probably would say the rest of his name wrong, so I'm not going to say it, but he's this Earth's version of the Spider-Man India. And then later comes Spider-Punk, played by Obi, the voice of Daniel Kaluuya. He is so charismatic, and he is amazing on the screen. His accent just plays very well with the different characters. After that event is over, we head into the Spider Society, where we see many other different Spider-Men. We also get to see some live-action Spider-Man. We get to see Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield through the canon windows as the story is being explained to what these canon events are. My personal favorite, though, is that of Ben Riley's Scarlet Spider. He has always been one of the top Spideys for me. His costume was always cool when I was younger in the 90s, and it was just great to see him on screen. Andy Samberg is the voice of him and does a really good job with his portrayal, which is unlike the others. We also get to see a wide range of other Spider-Man. You have Spectacular Spider-Man. You also have Sony's Spider-Man. The video game is in there. We also get to actually see the video game being played in Miles' dorm room at one point by his roommate. In addition to all the Spideys, we also get to see a cool sequence when he's being chased out and some of their limitations or even their abilities. One, we see the Spider-Man on a horse, riding a horse. But the one limitation I can think of is the 60s animated Spider-Man version where he has an iconic where he just swings through the screen into transitions and he just swings through and Miles goes right by him and he goes like, wait, he just went by me, I couldn't do anything. So I thought that was a really cool part of the movie. The next thing is we get to see some variations of villains. The most main one and obvious one is we get to see Donald Glover as the Prowler, which we got to see him in Spider-Man Homecoming. Yeah, he wasn't the Prowler yet, but we did know that he mentioned that he had a nephew named Miles. So it was a pretty cool sequence in the Spider Society to see all these Spideys and villains. I really love the Spider-Man from the film. If you're a huge Spider-Man, there's so much to offer just watching those sequences alone. You could watch it over and over again and see probably different Spideys that you didn't see the first time through. Now, this is where I would give you the 5 that I didn't like or took issue with, but I truly don't have 5 whatsoever. But here are a few things that could be debated or complained about. Number 1, the canon events. Are we supposed to just suspect that or expect that all these Spideys would just listen to Miguel O'Hara and let all these events continue to happen and Miles is the only one that wants to change it? That could be debated. We find out that Peter B. Parker and Spider-Gwen are along with the ride of trying to stop Miles, though we see Spider-Gwen and Peter B. change their minds towards the end of the film. It's just hard to think that our Spideys or the other Spideys in there would be so on board with letting Miguel just take the lead on leading these canon events and that Miles would be the first one to buck at it. So that could be something that could be talked about. This is my own personal thing. Number 2, and unless I missed it, from the 90s, the animated series, Christopher Daniel Barnes is the iconic voice of that Spider-Man. He did not make an appearance in this film, or I didn't catch it. I would love to have him maybe in the third one. Hopefully they bring him on, because that's just my iconic growing up. We always remember Christopher Daniel Barnes as Spider-Man. So we'll get to see what happens. I was kind of disappointed that he was in this film, but we got so many others. How can I complain? And then number 3, this isn't really a knock on the movie, but why do I have to wait for the next one? I truly cannot wait for the third one. If you've seen any reports, though, here recently, it seems like it was supposed to be ready for March 2024, which would be less than a year of waiting. But there's been a lot of issues about improper work conditions, and usually when something is delayed, I'm usually on the side of, well, that's fine, delay it. That means we're working on it. It's going to make it better. Hopefully that the people working on it are being stressed out and pushed to their limits, which kind of seems like has been the case with this last film. So as much as I do want it, I do want to be a little more humane, and if it is delayed, then so be it. But I'm just hoping that everyone has a good time working on it, of course, because that's what it should be. It shouldn't just be content for us to enjoy. The people who are creating it should also have some joy in it. So, and you only know so much from this side of the story, that side of the story. But whenever it comes out, I'm ready for it, and I hope it's just complete as it's supposed to be. So, where would I rate this Spider-Verse movie? We did the double R's on my first review. We'll continue to do that here. I'm going to give it 10 out of 10. Like I said, it is movie of the year. If I break my ranking, I could go above 10, but it is 10 out of 10. It is on the level of Empire Strikes Back for me. I'm not saying it is as good as Empire Strikes Back, but it's on that same level, as in it's a sequel. The little twist at the end to push us into the next film. It definitely has that Empire Strikes Back feel to me. So again, it's my 10 out of 10 movie of the year. All right, so that concludes my review. So let me know what you guys think, what you liked, what you didn't, and what you hope to see in the next one. If you haven't already, press that like button. Please do. Subscribe, and again, turn those notifications on so you don't miss anything coming up soon. We'll have more reviews on the way. Rebel out.